Well, we find ourselves here today again talking about the very foundation of our country, and that's our democratic institutions. And what we've seen over the last several years under this Liberal Prime Minister is a steady erosion in the trust that Canadians have. Why? The question that I put to the government that was insufficiently responded to, they provided a non-answer, no answer, deflected, as they often do, was with respect to the communist dictatorship in Beijing having paid $140,000 to the Trudeau Foundation. What did they get in exchange for that? Direct access to this Prime Minister. Direct access to this Prime Minister's brother. And this government, the parliamentary secretary who will respond tonight will say, well, the Conservatives want to make this about the Prime Minister himself. This is about Canadians. This is about Canadians who deserve to have confidence in their democratic institutions. What have we heard over and over and over again? What has this House said over and again? And that's that we need a foreign agent registry. We need to know who is operating in this country, and there need to be consequences for individuals who operate outside the law in an attempt to further the efforts of our adversaries, like the dictatorship in Beijing. It's important that our allies are able to have confidence in us, just as it's important for Canadians to have confidence in our democratic institutions. You take a look at our Five Eyes partnership, and you take a look at NATO and NORAD and the G7, and now there's new alliances forming around the world with some of our traditional allies. Think the United States, the United Kingdom, and Australia as an example. Well, who's missing from that partnership? Well, we are. But they don't miss us because they can't trust what's happening under this Liberal government. And our reputation on the world stage continues to take hit after hit, just like we saw as recently as Friday, when either through the willingness or the incompetence of this Prime Minister, we had a Nazi in the gallery of this place recognized by the chair occupant when the government had a responsibility to protect Canadians, protect our reputation, protect our guest from an international country, a wartime president from another country that we're supporting. So the embarrassment that Canadians feel, the embarrassment that parliamentarians have felt over the last few days after Friday's failure by this Prime Minister, is going to continue to erode our allies' confidence, just like Canadians' confidence is eroded in our democratic institutions. Canadians deserve better, and that's why we need a foreign agent registry. We need it now. They dithered and they dragged their feet on having a public inquiry into foreign interference. Well, let's have that foreign agent registry so that Canadians can begin to have some confidence. We can restore confidence in our democratic institutions. Will they do it?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Government House Leader.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. And, you know, the government has taken steps towards a foreign interference or a registry office, Mr. Speaker. That's already fairly well established that we're moving forward with regards to that. But let me get to the point where the member, and again, I'm going to go back to this because whether it's the member or right now or the member prior to him in asking questions, this member here is very critical. Foreign interference, again, a personal attack on the Prime Minister. Let me reverse it. You know, the foreign interference that the member is making reference to and with regards to China, there's a report that came out that actually came out while Stephen Harper was the Prime Minister, and the current leader of the Conservative Party, I believe, was the minister responsible for democracy. They knew about it. What do you think they did, Mr. Speaker? Absolutely nothing. Nada. They completely ignored the issue. Now, the issue doesn't go away, and now it resurfaces in a different way, and the Conservatives are blaming this Prime Minister for not taking action, yet, as a government, we have actually improved our democratic system. Remember, their leader today tried to take away the authenticity of the voter identification card as a tool to allow people to vote. And that leader and his Conservative Party are trying to say that we are taking away from democratic institutions. This member, like the other member, really and truly reflects what it is that the Conservative Party that I've been saying for years now has been attempting to do. Their interest is more not on the substance, but rather on just purely character assassination. That's what we saw again today. Both members make reference to last Friday, and they try to put the blame squarely on the Prime Minister and the PMO. Even though the speaker was very clear. I was there. Those members were here listening. You know, what did the Speaker say? The Speaker is the one that invited. The Speaker is the one that introduced. Are they suggesting that any time, Mr. Speaker, a Speaker brings someone into the Speaker's gallery, that it has to be vetted through the Prime Minister's office or PCO? What are they suggesting should have happened, Mr. Speaker? Are they trying to surrender the control of the House of Commons and the floor of the House over to the government of the day? Is that what they're implying? What role do you have as a Speaker, Mr. Speaker, being elected by 337 members of the Chamber? Having a Speaker's gallery. Are we going to start putting limits on that? I think that we got to be very careful and follow the advice. This does not have to be a political issue, what had taken place on Friday. All of us should be united, not trying to put fire on something or cause a fire on an issue, in which we should be trying to build a consensus and demonstrating leadership. But the Conservatives are more concerned, again, about the character assassination. And that's the reason why, the real reason why, they're manipulating or attempting to manipulate this situation. And I find that somewhat sad and pathetic. Mr. Speaker, we continue to work very closely with the Five Eyes. In fact, we're the government that brought in Canada in terms of the Five Eyes and having that apolitical, unpartisan standing committee of the House. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Leeds, Grenville, Thousand Islands, Rideau Lakes.
We're asking for the Prime Minister to take responsibility. I'll address a number of things that the Parliamentary Secretary said. First of all, are we going to surrender control of the House? It is the exact responsibility of the Prime Minister. It is his government to whom the Parliamentary Protective Service reports to on operational matters. They're responsible for the safety of this place and members in this place and guests in this place. They want to talk about 8 years ago. They've been doing nothing. So instead of taking responsibility, they want to blame a Prime Minister from 8 years ago. And what is sad and pathetic is that instead of actually addressing the issues, you know, they've got the member who sits next to the Parliamentary Secretary trying to take secret films in here to see who's clapping loud enough for what guests in this place say. You know what they should do? They should spend as much energy as they do trying to catch someone out with gotcha politics as they do on actually keeping Canadians safe and giving Canadians the ability to keep roofs over their head, to be able to feed themselves, to be able to heat themselves, but they're doing none of it. Why?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Well, Mr. Speaker, that's just not true. If you take a look at some of the initiatives that we have actually taken, and I had ran out of time when I talked about the Five Eyes. Remember, we have a parliamentary standing committee of the highest security clearance, just like other Five Eye countries did. That's something in which the Conservative Party in government opposed, and even in opposition opposed. Yet our other partners in the Five Eyes have that. What it does is it allows that critical information to flow in an apolitical fashion individual members of Parliament from all political entities or parties inside the House to have participation on that special committee so that they can look at issues like foreign interference, if that's what they want. They can call all forms of security agencies to come before it, Mr. Speaker. That's action, something that we haven't seen from the Conservative Party in over a decade.
The honourable member.